Prologue. The gathering has begun. Who will come? Barely visible in the pre-dawn light, a dim form stole from the back of the dye shed. Wrapping a shawl tight against the wind, the figure shuffled along the snow-packed path through the frozen herb garden and opened the gate to climb the knoll behind Merchant's Row. At the top of the hill, the slowly blooming light revealed a woman, grey-haired and hunched, perhaps by age, but certainly against the wind. She scanned the snow-crusted rooftops that spiraled from the center of the city like wagon wheel spokes. Then she directed her gaze toward the watchfires that shone from the garrison bordering the Northlands and beyond. In the far distance, a plume of dirty smoke rose from the Northland Glacier. She felt certain a new band of lowland raiders had passed unseen through the blind side of the glacier during the night. The air smelled faintly of fish oil, the odor cast by the smudged torches borne by the southern invaders. She wondered if they had yet breached the crystal caves, as they burned out the belly of the ancient glacier in their quest for water. An acrid wind caught a corner of her hand-spun shawl, threatening to snatch it from her grasp. From the straggly line of buildings that wound along the base of the foothills beneath her, a wooden sign groaned on its hinges. She knew without looking that it was the sign above her own shop. The screech of iron on iron sounded ominous. The old woman searched the grey horizon for answers, and found none. She fingered the shawl that she called her magic wrap. Old and worn, even though made from sturdy mohair, it was lavender and plum tinged with black, hand-dyed in a colourway called aubergine, a combination to which she had given her own name. This familiar shawl provided warmth and comfort, as well as courage sometimes. This blustery morning she felt nothing but sorrow. If she had just searched her heart 20 years ago, she could have prevented the lowlanders' desecration of the Middlelands. Before the water in the great pot in the dye shed had grown cold, and the middlefolk ceased to believe in her yarns, she could have prevented the damage. Yet she had been younger then, both strong and foolish. She felt like a marionette whose strings had been cut. Smoky Joe was right. It was time to call the 12. It was past time. She knew not all of them would recognize the summoning fire in the sky. Of those who took notice, not all would heed its command. The circle of 12 would remain broken, as it was before. Even broken, though, the circle might contain enough power to prevent the destruction of the world as they knew it. She reached a veined hand to the skin of her neck, and she felt the pain afresh, as if the betrayal had happened last night. How could she have chosen to trust that young woman? The one who on the last night of the 12 ripped the amethyst circlet from her throat, then spurned the power of the group and fled south to the lowlands, knowing none of them would follow her there. Then, coaxing some magic from the crystal she had stolen, she had learned to bend the lowlanders' greed to her will. As the years passed, rivers raged and whirlwinds struck and forests burned. Now a grown woman, and no longer merely a novice, this former apprentice had become Aubergine's enemy. Known as the Dark Queen of the South, she had stripped the fields and forests, siphoned the rivers and lakes, and polluted the seas with the foul sludge that remained. Then the lowlanders had been forced to invade the Northland for food and water. The old woman shook her head, unwilling to even think the name of her adversary. A tiny, round gnome toiled up toward Aubergine from the path below, holding a tinderbox in hands warmed by felt mittens. Just last week she had rediscovered the silver container, shelved among dye-stuffs in the back room, and glowing as it had not for decades. Wheezing, the gnome gently lifted the delicate chest toward Aubergine. Dawn was beginning to send a hint of brightness above the horizon, but the old woman found she had no strength to open the box she now held. Made of seamless hammered metal, it had no lid. The gnome clapped her hands together to warm them further against the morning chill. She coughed. "It's time," she said. "Quickly, before the dawn obscures the stars." The old witch shook her head. "Poor little one, we are only two tired crones whose time has come." The glowing chest remained closed between them, like an unanswered question.